well, this one guy who actually was my roommate, named Ricky, was the DJ over at a place called the Northside Lounge in Tampa. And he wasn't a DJ. He was a DJ like Donald Trump is a presidential candidate. So he was going in and pulling stunts by playing my tapes. And it was a Sunday night. I'll never forget it. It was a Sunday night, and I was at home, and the phone rings, and it's the owner of Northside Lounge because my name was on the cassette tape, my name and my number. And he called me, and he said, would you like a job? I was like, sure. I didn't realize that what happened was Ricky had put on a tape and went to another bar and was going to come back before the tape was over, but the owner walked in before he got back. And the owner went to the owner went to the machine and saw the cassette tape and said, "Oh, okay," and called me and hired me. So that's how I got my first DJ gig.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was
1985, dog.
That's a cute like memory right there, though. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, so, that's how it started. And I hadn't even really learned how to mix completely then. I was still experimenting. So I kind of learned on the job. So, and the Northside Lounge was this, like, tiny, tiny little bar. I don't even know. Well, they had a DJ because they had a drag show. That was the main reason. But, like, their dance floor literally was probably not even as big as our bedroom. Half the size of the bedroom that I'm in right now. Wow. And if they smoked too hard, they would make the records jump.
Ooh. I remember them days. The children don't know the struggle, honey. Wow. So how did this, Relentless Records come about in your life?
Okay, well, it wasn't really a label. It was, that was the name of a series. Relentless.
Hold on. My bad. We're going to have to run that back again. How did, let's talk about, when you came in with the bitch tracks. First of all, let everybody know, what is a bitch track, first of all? For those who's tuning in and don't know, the new kids and stuff like that.
Well, people ask me about what a bitch track is, and to me, I kind of describe it as it's a feeling, and it is, and I don't even know how to describe it because it has to do with the individual who's doing the track. Now, a lot of people think that anyone can do a bitch track, and I say you can't. You have to be in it, and you have to know what it is. When I did my very first one, which was Why Are You Gagging, that actually came about from a phone conversation where I called up my friend Calvin Roberts, who was my producer. But he was just a good friend of mine, and he still is. But we were talking on the phone, and I was explaining to him about a night at the club in New York where someone fell off a speaker. And I was describing it, and I thought it was funny, and, I put on a low voice, and I was like, oh, this thing fell, and da-da-da-da. And he's like, oh, we got to put that on a record. And I was like, okay. And I had just started at an after-hours club called Jay's, which was at 14th and 9th, and I was their first DJ there. And then those who don't know about New York in the 90s and Jay's was this after-hours bottle club that was also a jerk-off club. And,
there's a lot of new kids that's tuning into the radio show. What is a jerk-off club?
A jerk-off club? Well, technically you could jerk off, but you couldn't have sex. Like, there was no penetration or whatever. So, and while I was waiting for them to put in the DJ booth, they hired me as what they called sex police. So I used to walk around with a flashlight and be like, okay, lips above the hips, gentlemen. Lips above the hips. And, and but when they finally put the booth in, I actually got to DJ, and that also changed a lot of my DJing as well, because since it was a different place and a different format, I could do a lot more things, and it was late night till early morning because we closed at 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get busy until after 4 when the bars closed.
Ooh, darling.
Yeah, so it was, so I got to play around and do all kinds of stuff musically.
Whoa.
And so, like, that also shapes a lot of what I had to say on record, because I would watch these people come in. And Why Are You Gagging actually came about because of, I can say it now because I've told them both about it. And but like I used to didn't mention their names. It had to do with Kevin Aviance, and it had to do with Franklin Fuentes, because they were the big names at that time. Franklin Fuentes had If Madonna Calls and all these other tracks on Strictly, and Kevin was blowing up with Hunty.
Was that Junior Vasquez or Franklin Fuentes with If Madonna Calls?
It was Junior Vasquez, but Franklin Fuentes is the sample. That's a sample from a record of his on Strictly.
Just to clear it up on here, you know what I mean? I gotta prompt you. I gotta prompt you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, and that was the other thing that used to kill me, is that these DJs, there were still samples of the girls doing these vocals, and they'd make a whole track out of it and then not give them credit. So...
What you mean by not giving them credit? Like their names was not on the album cover or something, or in the credits, like in the CD? How was it back then?
I think originally on If Madonna Calls, I don't think Franklin's name was on it.
Yeah.
And because Junior was so right, so when because Junior was so big at the time, and that particular record is the reason why he and Madonna don't speak to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's an actual recording of her from his answering machine.
Yeah.
So he never got permission. He never got permission to use that or anything. And so when she got wind of it, she cut him off lock, stock, and barrel, honey. That's how Victor Calderone became big, because her next big record, she had him mix it instead of Junior. After Bedtime Stories, Ray of Light and all that stuff was done by Victor Calderone, and he blew up as a big name.
Yes, yeah. Bitch. You be house hopping. Love that parody.
Know your history, darling. Know your history.
Batata be house hoppy. We love you, Batata, but Mama, we're just optimizing over here. All right, so keep going.
So, Why Are You Gagging was based on those two, Kevin and Franklin. They used to come in, and they would give me all kinds of attitude. I was a new DJ, and I was trying to get copies of their songs. I was like, could you bring me a copy of your song so I can play it? So Miss Kevin, she paid me.
How
paid
much?
me dust.
How much? Oh, in dust?
She paid me dust, darling. She was she was busy partying. She wasn't paying any attention to me. And Franklin was just like, who is this? And I was like, oh. So when I got in the studio, those digs on that record, they're actually about them. So the line about, and at the time, Done Atop a House was big too. So I have all these, like, references to all these different things.
Wow.
And they're all the popular songs at that moment. So I was like, last week you were feeling cotton tea. And, I think I said something about someone dropping a house on your sister and all this other stuff. And but they never knew that those were aimed at them.
Wow, now
so
they do.
Only until last year when I did the Fact magazine interview with this magazine out of the UK. It's an online magazine, that I revealed who the song was about. And Kevin was really hurt, like, oh, girl, why would you say that about me? And I was like, girl, you don't even remember me from back then. You know me now, but you didn't know me back then. You weren't paying attention to me back then. I was a nobody. So why would you have known?
So you're the new girl. That's what they gave? Let me find out. No, but that's how it is. You don't know the person in the scene. It's very egotistical. It's about attitude, shade, fashion, and according to the order. So, borrow for you. That's the lifestyle.
Yeah, well, the funniest thing that what's always been the joke with me, if you listen to any of my bitch tracks, they're making fun of bitch tracks. I'm making fun of people who like bitch tracks, and I'm making fun of the people who make them. But no one caught that.
Right.
You know, when I said fierce on Bitch You Look Fierce, I wasn't meaning it as a compliment. I was meaning it as in the original meaning.
That's
right.
What? I played that in Miami last weekend at Orgullo last Saturday on October 3rd. Children went up.
It's amazing to me. I've gotten letters as far as from Australia from people who are like, "Oh, that song was like amazing. I've listened to it over and over again, and I love it." Or and I'm like, "Really? The song that I recorded in my friend's bathroom in Baltimore? Like literally, we recorded those songs for me as a joke to play while I DJ'd. Right. We didn't actually think that they were going to be signed or that they were going to make it anywhere. I thought that they would just be things that I would play."
Why you gagging? That's another one of my favorite tracks. I've been listening to your music since I first came in the scene, to be honest. And I never got to see your picture. I just knew it was some person relentlessly cunty. And I was like, woo, well, every time I would Google your butt, I was like, ooh, I'm downloading these. These are hot, And then now I'm actually having you on the show. I even see the face, the picture. I'm hearing the voice. So this is a phenomenal experience for me right now. By the way, yeah.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's just I still gag over the idea that people like I've been in a restaurant out in LA, and someone walked up to me and said, "You're DJ Relentless," because I recognize your voice. They had no idea what I look like. They just recognized my voice.
Because all we know is relentlessly cunty, from the beginning, there was no pictures. It was when you would go online and you would like Google it up or try to, find beats in the beginning, when there was Windows 3. Remember Windows 3.0?
Yeah, well, I mean, you were
the beginning of Napster days. Yeah, And
you were asking about the relentlessly cunty thing, how that came about. It wasn't a label; it was a series. And there's a record store in the West Village called Rebel. And the owner, his name is David. I used to shop there all the time, and he asked me one day, he was like, "Well, what are these punchy beats? Like, what is that?" And so I put together a mix to show him what it was, because I couldn't exactly describe it. So the very first one, that's the one that has the Wonder Woman and Ha mix. It's got cunty on it. It's got Bitch You Look Fierce. It's got, I did this overlay of Franklin. He had this thing called Dwayne's World, and I put it on top of Love Is a Message. I did all this stuff on this just to give him a flair, a feeling of what the music was. Well, he started playing it in the store, and people started asking could they buy it. So he ordered like 10 of them from me. Well, the next thing I know, he's ordering like 30 of them, and then they just kept selling. And he's like, "Well, can you do another one?" So it ended up being 5 volumes. And at the time, Napster had just started. So somebody was buying them and uploading them to Napster. Now, unfortunately, they were mislabeling a lot of the tracks. Like some of them, they just put the song title, and they put Relentlessly Cunty, and that was it. But they weren't putting the actual artist. So for a while, some people thought that Bitch You Look Fierce was by Kevin Aviance. Because at the beginning, if those who downloaded it, like I think you could probably find the real version now. You can snatch it off of YouTube now, the original version of it. But the original one that got leaked had cunty from the track before bleeding into, like it was on top of the beats of the opening beats of Bitch You Look Fierce. So they just naturally assumed. I've actually seen it listed, Bitch You Look Fierce by Kevin Aviance, the Junior Vasquez mix. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, I actually downloaded that back in like 99, 2000 maybe, 2001.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and so much was supposed to happen for me. Then I signed a record deal over in the UK, and I was all primed to do my first album. And I did a cover of Proud Mary. I did a dance version of it. I had all these tracks